All right, I'm here with the Principal Secretary, the State Department, MSME, and we're just going through a few numbers from the report from the Office of the Auditor General, and we're seeing some of the things that they highlighted is that 238,707 persons were issued with loans above set limits amounting or exceeding even 219 million. Persons not eligible who accessed loans are 5,070. 11,213 people were issued with additional loans of 161 million before repayment, meaning they got another loan and they hadn't repaid the other loan. 129,315 people or accounts were closed with a pending amount of 81 million shillings, and 5 accounts withholding around 3 trillion shillings. Only 2.7 billion, I beg your pardon, 2.7 billion was accounted for, 259 million was not accounted for. Let's start with the closed accounts. You were telling me, why are these accounts closed?
Hibak.
Yes.
The issues that the Auditor General raised are issues bordering on the data reconciliations, because we have two systems. The one that runs on telco, which provides the access points. If you dial *254 hash, your certain vital details are captured, and you see you must dial on a number and you're already registered with the national IDs.
Right.
So, and then from there you get registered to the product, to the now product itself, the personal loan products, through the banks. So the banks does what we call like vetting to make sure that you're not multiple dipping. In other words, if you come through Safaricom, they make sure that you have not borrowed through Airtel or through Telcom. So they're the ones who maintains a centralized system. So during the audit, and this is the response that our development partners gave, provided to the Auditor General, and given the nature of the products and the process that will be involved to query the number, the audit process, the system audit, was not done in a live environment. You had, the Auditor General had to extract the data, the data sets from the two systems, move it to allocation and do that. Like any data, and if you were to discuss this with any data person, will tell you, you are likely to experience those challenges. You can extract, and we, in that process, get to truncate certain segment of the data. So what happened? Then when the Auditor General queried, because that's a normal process, if certain joints are not connecting, and then they say, what is the risk here? So she raised and she wrote a letter to us for management response. We sat down with our partners, and they were asking now each one of them to query the system using the sample data sets that she had provided. So when they were querying the system, they realized that you could trace. A Hustler Fund has got so many traceability points. Number one, when you're accessing Hustler Fund through the phone. Through your phone, you must have an ID to have a phone, because all our telephone numbers have been integrated in the phones. The second traceability point is the mobile money wallet that you're operating with, because your wallet sits within the mobile money. If I'm M-Pesa, it sits. That's why you are asked about your PIN number. And you see, like any other digital product, like example Safaricom, M-Pesa, you've had us being warned several times that please do not reveal your PIN number. You can only get frauded.
Before Susan, we move too far, you know, from, we don't want to go off tangent. The auditing was done after the financial year was completed. That was when the auditor came in and went through, of course, all of these, the data and all of the information that you had. So it wasn't something that was ongoing. It was a financial year that was ended. One thing that I got from the report is that there was late submission, and the Office of the Auditor General said that there was a late submission of financial statement, and the management submitted financial statements for audit on the 26th of October, which was 27 days after the statutory deadline. So already, Mekasirisha auditor, the audit also revealed irregularities at the Hustler Fund, recovery of 8 billion Kenyan shillings loans in doubt. You know, the money is going to be disbursed to unregistered persons. That is 8 billion to I'm quoting the Office of the Auditor General. Unregistered persons, loans worth 200 million.
So it's not possible
with
to
a
be disbursed.
duplication of IDs.
That's why I'm going to respond to duplication of IDs.
Right.
I've said, and how that one probably it came about. Number one, it is not possible to receive hustler fund without being registered. And
then
like I've said,
did the OAG come up
and like I said, she did not do audit in a live environment because we have two systems which have to be synchronized.
But the financial year was ended, so it wasn't in a live situation.
It was not. No,
had already
you can still do. You know, you see, this is a live product. You see, and the customers there are live.
Right, but
it's not something that. Let me tell you, it's not that this year I bought this book, it ended. Because remember, it's not that every financial year we have a new set of customers. So you've closed the account. You do not close the account. So this is what happened. You go to the system because it's a live system continuing and which will live many financial years. So, but you have the specific date when we started the product. So you just extract the data. It's still live, but you just extract the data, which is still running from the point of when we started up to the point when the review period, you determine the review period. So she moves the data. And remember, this is digital. So we are talking about not just any data, is millions of data that we are talking about, because the transaction which you're talking about is 60. So far, we've had 66 million, over 66 million of transaction. Those are not a small number of hits. So what happened, and this is how and whenever an auditor general raises her queries, she just wants you evidence to show that it is not what she thinks that could happen, that there is no risk. So our service provider had to interrogate the system. And you see, even the ledger books and everything that she was asking, these are digital because they operate on that platform. So when they met, and this one also explains why we submitted even the financial statements late, because for us to submit, we don't just submit hard copies like you think this way. We have also to be up to date with the data to show that this year, this is what we have, this is what, and reconcile every data point. So this is what happened.
That's notwithstanding, Susan. Let's just focus on what we have then. Of course, there was the issue of duplication of loan IDs.
If I explain that, you'll see why.
Exceeding amounts that was taken as well. There were people who were accessing loans that were not eligible, 5,000 people.
It's not possible, and that's why I said
then
that
how
was just
did the OAG get this information?
And that's why I'm giving you the process, that during the audit process, since it was not live and she had to extract, in the process of extracting that data, and any data person will tell you that can happen, some data were truncated, and after that, when she raised those issues and she flagged out the data sets, we went, because she needed a management response, we went back to the service providers who took time now to run through and requery the system, and they were able to provide evidence that, for example, the over 800,000 people which she had flagged out that she cannot see at what point were registered, they were able to provide evidence that it was just a question of data truncation, which means that, but here are they have contract ID, they have loan ID. So now, let me tell you. Are
you saying now that the OAG has been given all the data and there's going to be a report,
so this is what
is going to ensure
absolutely
that the Financial Inclusion Fund does not have any questions?
Absolutely. And you know, remember, this was the first audit, inaugural audit that we were having, and you're going to have many more sessions, audit session with the Auditor General. And Auditor General also, she operates within a certain constitutional timelines. So this is what happened. So when we presented the management responses, because this is a digital, fully digital product, for her to come and verify, because what usually happens, she says, give me the evidence. So we give her the evidence. It's not a question I come here, he back, and we discuss and say it is this and this.
Right.
She has again to come and re-verify the systems to establish that the response that we have given now meets her criteria, or now clears out the queries and doubts which she had.
Right.
So that one we provided, but this was her answer. She said, now you have provided this. However, it needs, I cannot go by what you're telling me. I have to come and re-verify the system. And I can tell you, we have this week, we have received a letter. She's coming again. The team is coming again to do again the financial year. And as a procedure, there is no way, even as you embark on the new, on this now 2024, the year that has ended 30th June 2024 financial year audit, you cannot start without also seeing how those queries of the previous year. So we know we have an opportunity right now for her to come and verify, and we'll want actually to call upon her and say this time round, we will be glad if she can do this in a live environment, so that when the report comes out, it becomes so easier to synchronize and to harmonize, reconcile the data, so that we don't create doubts among Kenyans on IDs. Let me tell you what happened. So when you borrow Hustler Fund, especially if you're a telecom, I'm telling you, so when you sign up to Hustler Fund and you are onboarded on the product, you are given a loan ID, and that's what you call like a contract ID, which now kind of defines you. Now, and every individual beneficiary has that. So what happened, let's say your limit is 10,000, and this happened mostly with telecom customers, is 10,000. You decide to, first you want to access 1,000. It maintains the same ID. And then before you know, so long as you're still within the loan period of 14 days, the first 14 days, and you've been given a limit of 10,000, you can do top-ups. So I've taken 1,000, maybe tomorrow I'll take 2,000, before you pay, I'll pay 3,000 within that loan period of 14 days. But beyond so, the ID is maintained, the original ID is maintained, because it's the same principal amount which you borrowed. So it doesn't change. So those were some of the issue and clarity that has been made. Then you are talking about closed account. You cannot close account when you are having a saving component. We don't close the accounts. The accounts were not closed. Like I say, it's just a question, because we maintain accounts of each and every individual Hustler Fund beneficiaries. You cannot close when you have people's savings. Where shall we credit their interest at the end of the year? So there is no account which is closed. Like I say, it's just a question of data, which is now being synchronized. And then this is a system, it's a technology system, which now the banks and the telcos has to be integrated. And sometimes you may never achieve that immediately. You meet these challenges and you improve and improve. I want to believe in the subsequent audit, some of those challenges may not arise again.
All right, Susan, just so we're clear that we're on the same page before we go on another break, you're saying that there were no persons who were issued above
it's not possible.
All right, that there were no persons who are not eligible, who are accessing loans. You're saying that people who are issued with double loans, the 11,000 people, do not exist who had not paid previously. You're saying there are no closed accounts, and of course, all this amount is going to be accounted for.
All the amount that has been given out can be accounted for. For example, we know who still has an outstanding loan. We know who they are. They've been defined. You can be able to trace to them. And the question of eligibility, maybe it's just a question of what is the interpretation of eligibility. Like we've said, all Kenyans who are 18 years and above, and they've had a telecom line for at least 3 months, which is 90 days, are eligible to this. So when you're defining eligibility, so long as you meet those basic criteria, you're already eligible. So, and there is no way, and I've just gave you an example, my dear sister. We've been warned several times. Weka pini yako ni siri yako. The only way you can get swindled out of the money in digital lending platform, especially the mobile one, is when you volunteer certain access information. And in this case, tell me, how do you single out 800,000 IDs? Where do I get that? I mean, how do you create it?
Right. We will be going back to this conversation, and we're going to be touching on that. However, we just got news that very sadly, the High Court Judge, Justice David Majanja, has passed on. This is what we know so far, that Justice Majanja passed on at the Nairobi Hospital on Wednesday, July 10th of this year. Preliminary reports indicate that the judge had checked in at the hospital for a surgery, and that Justice Majanja was first appointed as judge of the High Court in 2011 and was, until his death, stationed at the Milimani Civil Division Court. He was sworn in as a member of the Judicial Service Commission on May 28th of this year, and this was after he was re-elected to represent the Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association on JSC. Justice Majanja was first elected to the JSC on May 14th, 2019 for a 5-year term. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Go for a very short break. We'll be right back.